Let's go, Badgers fans. We got big time football recruiting news. 2024 kid pulled the trigger, at least verbally committed to the University of Wisconsin football program, and a big time offer to a player we've had on the show. We've talked about a ton and very excited about it. We're going to talk about that and more on today's Locked On Badgers. Let's go.
You are Locked On Badgers, your daily podcast on the Wisconsin Badgers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, what is going on, Badger fans? Welcome to Locked On Badgers. I'm your host, Ryan Herrings. This is for your team every single day. That's what Locked On's all about. We're going to cover it. And really appreciate everybody tuning in, making this one of your first listens as we continue to build up this Badger community. Big time recruiting news. We talked about it. Let's jump into it. Let's start here. Wisconsin gained their first 2024 football commit as cornerback Austin Alexander out of Illinois committed. A big, wiry frames cornerback, 6'1", 165 pounds, long arms, and really the prototype that you're looking for in a modern secondary, somebody who has length, who has versatility, who can hit, who can run, and again, a big frame, which a lot of times equals big upside. It doesn't always happen, but you can't get those long-limbed cornerbacks at Wisconsin unless you take a couple guys that you have to develop, that you have to project, because you're not going to get at Wisconsin, you're not getting the 5-star cornerback that's stepping in right away and in 2 years is a first-round pick who wants to leave early. You got to go out and find some dudes with big frames, with long arms, who are 6'1" and can run, and then try to develop them into that shutdown corner. That's why I love this pickup so much. It's the same reason I loved Al Ashford's pickup so much, right? Big corner, defensive back, 6 foot, 6'1", who can run. Now, he might be a safety in the future. We had Roderick Rogers on the show talking about Al Ashford, and talking about really he likes him more as a safety. It's the same reason I like Harrell out of Colorado several years ago, who's 6'1", 6'2". Caesar Williams has that length. He just couldn't run. He didn't have the great speed, but you have to take guys like this. You have to take some Austin Alexanders who have that frame where if things click and if he develops correctly and you're able to develop him, that's a potential from a physical standpoint. That checks a lot of the physical boxes you're looking for an elite type of cornerback, a boundary cornerback. And when you watch film of him, it's pretty good, right? He high points the football. You can really, the long arms and frame really play up in the film. There's a couple spots where he's reaching up into the catch point where a receiver's at taking the ball away, snatching it, plays a lot of different positions. So there's versatility here. This is definitely an athlete. He coming in to play cornerback, but he can play safety. He can play receiver. There's special teams versatility. Like he's returning punts at one point, enough speed, shows physicality coming up into the box, taking on ball carriers, chopping out their legs. Definitely somebody who shows a nose for the ball as well. Several interceptions on film, a couple nice grabs as a receiver. So the ball skills are mostly there. I talked about the frame, the athletic ability, the versatility. This is a great pickup. Probably going to be like a 3-star-ish type player. Very typical Wisconsin ranking for a defensive back. But what's different from some of the typical Wisconsin backs that we've gotten over the years is he has the frame and the upside to really develop into that next level corner. There's a lot of players Wisconsin has brought in the secondary, and I'm not trying to dismiss any of them, but guys like Antonio Finellis and Devin Smith were really good corners, but they were never, just because of some physical limitations, going to be that next level player. And this is the type of guy who you bring in and you probably augment him with some, safer defensive backs, but he's the type of guy who has a different type of upside because of his frame, because of his length, because of his build, because of his athletic ability. I like him a lot. I think this is a great first pickup for Wisconsin. Again, somebody who really has the ability to potentially play corner with some speed and some length. But if it doesn't work out, you're picking up an athlete with ball skills, with long arms that could be a receiver, maybe a safety down the road. Again, special teams versatility. I love it. And I think it's a great first pickup. Let's also talk about another thing that's interesting to me here with Austin Alexander jumping on the board. Illinois kid, right? Which first recruit in the 2024 class on the football side, first verbal commitment from Illinois, first verbal commitment in the 2023 class from where? Illinois, right? There's 5 2023 kids from the state of Illinois in this 2023 class. So it's starting to look very much like a trend developing where Wisconsin's really going to hit Illinois hard. It started last cycle. A couple defensive linemen, JT Taylor, a lot of talent there coming into Wisconsin from Illinois. And you're seeing it again this class already, striking early, striking hard. And that's a state they should be more in. A lot of people have talked about it. Illinois has a ton of talent in it. And the flagship school is the Fighting Illini. Now, listen, Notre Dame's going to go in there and clean up. Michigan's going to get a lot of who they want. Ohio State's going to get a lot of who they want. But they can't take everybody. People maybe don't realize how much talent is in the state of Illinois and how close Wisconsin is. Like, especially to the Chicago area, that's a place where you can go in, sell kids on being close to home, playing close to home. Your family can come watch you. Big time program. The state of Illinois this year has 35-ish big time prospects in that. And by that, I mean like prospects going to Big Ten schools, Pac-12 schools, ACC schools. The 36th ranked prospect in Illinois this year is an offensive tackle going to Iowa. Jamel Howard, who I love, the Badgers defensive line commit, the big defensive tackle. He's the 25th best recruit in Illinois this year per the 247 rankings. Those are the type of kids, Notre Dame's not taking those kids. Michigan's not. Those are the type of players Wisconsin should be able to go in and every cycle poach 3 or 4 really good fits from Illinois right in that 10 to 20 range. They got Austin Brown a couple cycles ago, Tyler Jancey in this year's class I really like. The 2 defensive linemen, hopefully they hold on to Pierce. But, there's guys in that Illinois ranking from like 10 to 30 who are real dudes who have versatility, talent, and can really fit into the culture that Wisconsin has. I think they should be looking to take 3, 4, 5 kids almost every year from Illinois. And then you get your Wisconsin players, and then you augment from around there. And it looks like that's starting to happen, right? You have the 5 and 23. You got this kid here. So I think it's really interesting. Definitely something to keep an eye on. What else is remarkable here? And we're going to follow up with more on Austin Alexander, potentially try to get him on the show and just continue following up on that story. But what's remarkable here is the Badgers are +1 right now. Okay, since Jim Leonhard took over, they're +1 in the recruiting department. They've lost nobody in the 2023 class. They've had no decommitments. And I'm not saying that's not going to happen. I'm not saying there will be none, but they've lost nobody from that class, and they've added a 24. So I think if you're reading tea leaves here, I think we all see where this is headed, right? I think this is very clearly pointing to Jim Leonhard's job, Jim Leonhard's team, the fact that nobody's decommitted, and they're already starting to add a little bit of recruiting momentum with the 24s going. So, yeah, Austin Alexander, the first commit in the Badgers 24 class. Very excited about that. I think he's a really good, sneaky good pickup. No other offers yet, but I wouldn't worry about this. Is obviously a guy they got in on early, plan a target. You're not offering and accepting a verbal commit from somebody this far out in the 24 class unless you really believe in what's there. So I wouldn't stress at all the no offers. I think it's a good pickup. I like the frame. I like the versatility. I like the fact that we're striking in Illinois again. Hopefully that continues going. I think that is a fruitful field to go farming in. All right. So that's my thoughts on Austin Alexander. Very excited about it. Really also just nice to see Wisconsin hasn't had a commit since June from a scholarship player. So it is just nice to see the recruiting cannons fired back up again and getting some mojo back on board. So that's fun to see. Always enjoyable. Coming up next, I want to talk about a player that I've talked about a lot, and I am so stoked that he has an offer now. We're going to talk about that next on Locked On Badgers. But first, today's show is brought to you by Nissan. This week's thrilling moment in college football is brought to you by Nissan. The thrilling designs behind the new lineup from Nissan are intended to empower drivers in vehicles as capable as a driver themselves. When I think of unbelievable abilities on the field for this week's thrilling moment, I have to go back to that 2011 Big Ten championship game, Wisconsin-Michigan State, almost 20 future NFL players on the field in the first ever Big Ten championship game. It's Russell Wilson, it's Le'Veon Bell, it's Monte Ball. It's that incredible win, getting a little bit of revenge from that Michigan State Hail Mary game. Wisconsin wins 42-39. Everybody remembers that iconic Jeff Duckworth fourth quarter, fourth down heave from Russell Wilson. You have the call in the game, Duckworth, he's got it. Awesome game. I still get goosebumps thinking about it. One of my favorite Badger football games I've ever seen. That is this week's thrilling moment. This segment has been inspired by the thrilling new designs featured across Nissan's new lineup of vehicles. Pursue what thrills you in the all-new Frontier, Armada, or Pathfinder today. Available now at nissanusa.com. I want to thank everybody again for tuning into Locked On Badgers, making this one of your first listens every day. Really, really do appreciate everybody really just supporting the show, building the community, joining the Discord, participating in the chats, the live shows, the comments, everything. Really, really do appreciate everybody. The show's growing like crazy, and it's really a reflection of everybody in the community making it awesome. And let's talk about it. Let's continue talking football recruiting, what it means, why we're excited. Cole LaCrue got an offer today. Right. So if you've been listening to the show for a while, you'll know I'm a big fan of Cole LaCrue, Bloomfield, Colorado quarterback, 2023 kid. He was on the show. We were able to interview him. Really smart. The Badgers came through today with an offer. And we've talked about quarterback recruiting in this 2023 class for a long time. Like, where are the Badgers at? Why haven't they offered anybody? Why are they letting these prospects that we really like? Ryan Brown was another one, went to Purdue. And we were seeing Cole LaCrue go to Colorado. Right. He visited Colorado and they offered. He's got a visit coming up to Cal, and we were just kind of sitting there like, okay, why are we not offering these dudes? Cole LaCrue is a really good quarterback. Well, they came through today. They made the offer. Cole LaCrue tweeted it out. And I can tell y'all very, very clearly, this is an offer he's excited about. He's very interested in Wisconsin. He wanted the offer from Wisconsin. So I'm very excited about this. You can probably tell. LaCrue was on the show. Let's talk a little bit more about his game, and talk a little bit about why I feel like he's such a good fit for Wisconsin. So first of all, he's starting to blow up. All right. Again, he just got offered by Colorado. He has a visit to Cal coming up. He just got an offer from Tulane. He's got some other schools sniffing around. So he's starting to blow up. He's putting together a really good year, undefeated this season. His stats are fantastic. Crazy touchdown to interception ratio. He can move. He's not the fastest quarterback, but he is definitely mobile. He gets out on the pocket. He keeps his eyes downfield really, really well. Cole LaCrue has a maturity to his game as a high school quarterback that is really fun to watch. Like, he doesn't just take off and run. His eyes are downfield. He's always trying to make the big play. Not the tallest player. He's not 6'4", 6'5", but a really big arm. Can throw off the back foot, has touch, can throw in multiple arm angles. Just a winner, right? He's just a winner. His team's undefeated this year. He's got a ton of charisma, a lot of confidence, which borderline cockiness a little bit, but I mean, in a good way. Like that, you want your quarterback to have that. You want your quarterback to have that belief, to be able to have players rally around him. And I think when you talk to him, when you listen to him be interviewed, he's got all of that in spades. Like I said, the arm is really good. He's able to fit the ball into some really tight windows, a lot of touch, and he can really huck it. Like when we had him on the show earlier this year, there were some clips where, 60-yard bomb in stride, like effortless gas on it. So definitely a player that I'm excited about. I think he is an absolute D1 guy. Somebody that, again, that when we had him on the show, we had him break down some of his clips. Like, I was able to share some of his film, and he was able to talk through. I didn't prep him on any of this, right? He was able to watch a clip once and say, oh yeah, we were in a 3-by-1 when we were going 50 protection. That safety couldn't get there on this play. That's why I kind of put it where I had to put it. My running back missed the block there, so I knew the hit was coming. He's just really able to be very cerebral. I'm mispronouncing that word, but he's able to really talk through what he's seeing from an X's and O's standpoint, where he was looking to go to the ball, why the play developed the way it did. So yeah, I'm very excited about this. I think this is a great offer. I think it's one the Badgers should have made a while ago, quite frankly, but it's happened. I don't know. We'll have to see what Cole's time frame is, where he wants to go. I know he does have a visit coming up to Cal. I think that will probably still be on, although I'm not sure. And then maybe he'll sit down and take a look. It's possible. The timing of the Badgers offer is interesting too, right? He's just coming off the call because the Badgers had him on campus. I think it was week 2. They had him on campus. And it's been kind of, the communication hasn't been really that tight between the Badgers and LaCrue. They've kind of, I certainly don't want to say backburnered it, but they've been looking at a few other quarterbacks, and they've kind of been going through a coaching transition. Then he went to Colorado. He got the Colorado offer, and then suddenly Wisconsin offered. I kind of feel like Wisconsin, this is a guy they want, but they weren't pressured to offer just yet because nobody else had pulled the trigger. And then they saw the Buffaloes pull the trigger, and they said, yeah, we can't lose this guy. Like, we like him. We like the intangibles. We think he can play at this level. And quite frankly, we need a couple quarterbacks. So I think the Colorado offer probably put some pressure on Wisconsin. It probably led to the Wisconsin offer, but make no mistake about it. This is a D1 dude. He's got a D1 arm, a total winner, mobile, and really accurate with the ball too. So I really like this offer. Again, I think he's a winner, and I think he's somebody that we could see commit to Wisconsin sooner than later. And I don't think that would necessarily be the end of quarterback recruiting for Wisconsin for this cycle, because if you look at that quarterback depth chart, you have Graham Mertz going into a senior year next year. And again, there's no guarantee anybody is on the roster, right? Everybody can transfer at this point in college football, but Mertz probably comes back. And then what do you have behind Graham Mertz? You have, right? Like you have Chase Wolf, who was missed the entire year from injury, and it's already really proven like he's not the guy. Then you have Miles Burkett, the freshman this year, who looked good in very limited reps, but he's a freshman. Deacon Hill transferred. You have Marshall Howe, the redshirt or the walk-on freshman who's on the team. But it is a barren depth chart. You need two bodies. You need two more dudes in this roster. So I think you get hopefully Cole LaCrue. You're able to, you made the offer. Now hopefully you're able to secure it, right? And you're able to land the pledge, which is no guarantee. But hopefully you're able to get LaCrue, and you still probably have to add another body. So yeah, either way, I think this is a really good step forward. I think we've let LaCrue and Ryan Brown before him kind of dangle out in the wind for too long. I would have offered both of those dudes much earlier, quite frankly, if it was up to me. It is validating in a sense that I've been waiting on offers to come for Cole LaCrue because I feel like I didn't know what people were missing, right? I think the film backs up the production. So it's validating in a sense to see these offers starting to come now, because I think he's a D1 dude, and I'm very interested to see what happens next with that recruitment. Coming up next, I want to talk a little bit about what all this means, right? So we're seeing new offers, new commitments, and we still have an interim head coach. I just want to throw some thoughts out there and get your thoughts in the comment section. Does that mean the decision is kind of been made behind the scenes about Jim Leonhard, or are we reading too much into that? That's coming up next on Locked On Badgers. But first, today's show is brought to you by our friends at Sweatblock. Sweatblock remains just one of the best products on the market for people who have embarrassing or uncomfortable odor or sweat. Mike, this is one of the customer reviews. Mike was a Vegas resort concierge who's sweating through his suit coat on the job in less than an hour. And he's not anymore, thanks to Sweatblock. Sweatblock solved Mike's problems. He was able to fix it with Sweatblock, continue working, and not have to constantly either be embarrassed or try to find new suits to put on for his job. Sweatblock wipes are a must-have for everybody's toiletry bag. Whether it's a big presentation or a hot date, everyone can benefit, and they're super easy to pack. Throw them in the bag. If you need them, great. If not, save them for the next time you need them. It's always there for you. We talked about it on the last episode. Rachel Ray had him on the show, tested Sweatblock on firefighters. It passed with flying colors. If it works for them, it's going to work for you. Okay. If you are someone you love is experiencing embarrassing sweat or odor, try Sweatblock. Save 20% with promo code Locked On at sweatblock.com. Also available on Amazon. I want to thank everyone again for tuning in to Locked On Badgers, making this your first listen every day. Really, really do appreciate it. Tons of awesome football recruiting news today. Now let's talk about maybe the biggest thing here, the biggest discussion point. What does all that mean? Like, it is remarkable. I mentioned it in the first segment, but I think it bears repeating because we had John Garcia on the show who talked about coaching turnover, what happens at schools who fire their head coach. And it's almost universally, they start losing commits, right? Almost universally, even before the coach is fired, they lose commits. And not only has Wisconsin not done that, not only have they not lost commits, they've added. They're +1. Now, again, knock on wood, players could still decommit, but I think you have to look at that as a really strong indicator that the locker room is solid, the culture is solid, and people are buying into Jim Leonhard right now. And they're not buying into Jim Leonhard unless they think Jim Leonhard is the long-term solution. Like, that's why people are buying into it. That's why people aren't decommitting. That's why Austin Alexander committed, right? That's why we haven't had a flurry of transfers. Let's talk about that. So we talked about the 30-day window that Badger players could take advantage of with a coaching change and transfer out. How many left? Think about it. How many left? You had Logan Brown, who was involved in a practice altercation. He didn't leave necessarily of his own accord. You have Deacon Hill, who had been buried on the depth chart. Like, Miles Burkett passed him. Like, he wasn't going to play here. You had and a couple receivers, right? You had Marcus Allen, who had been passed up this year and it was at best number 4. And you had Stephen Bracey, who, Bracey has juice. We saw it, but he can't be healthy. And at this point, again, he's passed up. He's the 5th or 6th receiver. So, nobody transferred that was in line for a lot of playing time. And that tells you, and quite frankly, a lot of players that aren't in line right now for a lot of playing time also did not transfer, right? So what does that tell you? It tells you, this locker room it's pretty sound. There's not a lot of leaks in the USS Wisconsin right now. It's steaming pretty solidly under control. And to me, that indicates that Jim Leonhard's the guy. Now, that's kind of a Captain Obvious thing. I think we've all thought that, but these are tangible things you can point to now. The recruiting class staying together, the transfers not pouring out of the program. Like I didn't think they would pour out of the program, but I thought we'd see a few more names pop in. Nobody specifically, but just a coaching transition is a big deal. And I thought we'd see a couple more names, right? I think the fact that the team has kind of been a little resurgent on the field, I think, players are pointing to that and seeing that and buying into that type of energy. And then I think the other thing we could take from this, specifically, you see Austin Alexander commit. What does that tell you from an assistant coach standpoint? That's probably a big vote for the Poteet, right? That's probably a big, he's probably going to be your next year on this staff, Poteet. And you kind of wonder when you start seeing some of the other offers and commits, is a quarterback offer, the one going out to Cole LaCrue, is that indicative of maybe Bobby Ingram, potentially staying around next year? Is Jim Leonhard giving, I don't want to say the freedom, but, indications that, this is going to be my guy, go out, make your offers, find the quarterback you want to get. So I think, I don't think any of this is written in stone, but I do think that we're seeing indications that we're getting closer and closer to formally announcing Jim Leonhard's the dude, right? And we're getting closer and closer to formally announcing Hank Poteet and Alvis Whitted, Bob Bosted, and potentially Bobby Ingram are also going to be on the staff. So I think some of the stability in recruiting and some of the stability with the player transfers is indicative of the fact that Jim Leonhard's in control. He's in control of the locker room. He's in control of the communication. He's in control of the direction of the program right now, which as an interim coach feels weird to say, but he feels like a head coach, right? There's nothing interim about Jim Leonhard right now. And I think that's important to take note of. And it's probably why we're starting to see the recruiting train start to chug along the rails once again. So that's interesting to me. Let me know what y'all think. Am I reading too much into that? Or are we pretty close to seeing maybe something official coming down the pike here? Also, let me know what you think of Austin Alexander, the 2024 cornerback, and Cole LaCrue, who we had on the show. Go back, check that out. He does a great job. We put some clips of himself up, and he goes through the clips and breaks them down. So go check that out as well. Appreciate everybody tuning in to Locked On Badgers, making it your first listen every single day. If you like the show, hit subscribe. It really does help. Hit like on it. It does help. When you're done here, go check out Locked On Sports Today. The biggest stories of the day, instant reactions, big game recaps, and the take of the day. Available on the Odyssey app, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. On Wisconsin, we'll talk to y'all tomorrow.